here on Tuesday for the Thank you. And how many of those people that have their hands up made it to the 2-hour and 40-minute mark when we were done? Yeah? Okay, we'll give these people a hand because they did a good job. Thank you. It's going to be a little quicker tonight. We're going to go until 8:30, and we're going to have a little comfort break in the middle. And each candidate has 4 minutes. I just asked, and I know some of you probably have your favorite candidate, but applause is awesome. We love to hear that. We love enthusiasm. But under no circumstance will I tolerate any booing or catcalls from the audience. So if you want to do catcalls, please write me a letter to the editor, but we're not going to hear it from the floor because we have some really nice people up here who have a message to share. So with that, we drew totally in random for speaking order, and then through an amazing coincidence, alphabetically in the order that they are, was the way they drew. So for his 4-minute welcoming address, please welcome our first candidate, Mr. Andrew Jacobite.
Good evening, thank you. I'm Andrew Jacobite. I'm 43 years old, married with 2 children. Actually, as of 2 weeks ago, 1 grandchild. I've lived up in Penticton for 23 years. I own a retail business, the Groove Yard, and a video production company, Groovy Productions. And for the last 6 years, I've been on City Council. Before coming to Council, I championed and helped create the Saturday Community Market. I am the organizer of the Canucks Young Stars Classic, helped secure the Axel Merckx Grand Final to be here, and volunteered with minor hockey for over 20 years. I also sit in various volunteer boards representing sports, business, and the arts. I'm running for mayor because I think City Council's lost some of its focus. I think Penticton needs a clear vision, a strong leadership, a community-minded champion to truly move us forward. I have experience. I'm young, and I have a passion to see Penticton reach its true potential. As your mayor, my focus is going to be on community pride. This is where we live. We need to create a sense of community where we shop, support, and celebrate locals. Vibrancy doesn't equate to a population number, it's a state of mind. Economic vibrancy and diversity. We want to foster entrepreneurship. Create a high-tech incubation center, a creative cluster, I call them. Our economic investments, they actually work. We need to go out and market that. We have $550 million coming in construction with the correctional facility and the patient care tower. We need to leverage that for our community. I believe in fostering better relationships, particularly with the Penticton Indian Band, and we're starting to see lots of development there. And while we can't dictate what land or where the land gets developed, we want to be seen as valued partners so we can actually, both communities can prosper harmoniously. We want to ensure that City Hall is accountable, accessible, and reasonable. We should be going out to the people instead of waiting for them to come to us. I want to do a mayor's breakfast, a brown bag lunch, a market minute, town hall meeting. I want to go to 4 meetings a month, where the first and third are regular meetings, the second and fourth a little more casual, workshops, more of those community engagement. I want each councillor to champion a strategic priority. I want each councillor to start each year with a public commitment of what they want to achieve that year so we can hold each other accountable and push ourselves to reach that goal. I want to build a team that's going to mentor, challenge, motivate, and champion on behalf of the community to be true community leaders. I will create 3 mayor select task forces to deal with affordable housing, economic innovations, and tourism. Subject matter experts from the community to really create actionable solutions. So affordable housing, we need to define it first. What models work or could work here? How can we use city lands to help? And is rezoning for high densification one of the answers? Economic innovations. We need to focus on how we can grow revenues instead of always going, where can we go and cut? How can we market our community and our opportunities? How do we push ourselves to be a training center, not just for skills trades, but actually that high-performance athlete training with sports schools is a great example. Tourism. We need to brand ourselves as a festival and events capital of BC, even Canada. Create our region as a cycling precinct, a destination. Implement a sports tourism and outdoor adventure strategy, and leverage tourism as a foot in the door to showcase Penticton as a place to start a business, move a business, start a family, move a family. Penticton's going to have some new faces on council, so we need a bold, innovative thinker and doer to be our leader. A leader who's a consensus builder, because we're going to have some fences to mend. Someone who can cultivate a working relationship where community and staff feel valued and inspired, where council is empowered and the community pride is reignited. We need to focus on building a strong economy, a strong community, one that doesn't look back, but will live in the past, but one wants to move forward and embrace the future. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, and that was our first speaker alphabetically and also by random draw, Andrew Jacobite. Speaking second in the program is Mr. Yuka Lorio.
Hello there, my name is Yuka Lorio. I was born in Finland, that's where the name comes from. I haven't really made a speech. I'm going to ad-lib most of this thing for you, and I'm going to try to answer the questions that most people want to know. Is that where did I come from, how did I get here, and why am I up here? I came to Penticton about 10 years ago. I arrived in Penticton with a backpack and a Rubbermaid container, and I stayed at the men's hostel. When I first got here, I thought it was a great little town. I had money in my pocket. It was summertime. I figured, hey, I'm going to hang out for the summer, wait till the fall comes, find myself some work, and make it through the winter. Well, I had a good time in the summer. Beautiful, beautiful city. It was a good time. There was festivals, there was parties, the city was full of people, businesses were operating. It was all great until I got to wintertime. There was nothing. Absolutely nothing. There was no work, nothing to be found, not even like a little bit of maintenance work. I almost starved to death my first winter here. And I would have if it wasn't for the cafeteria, which is a great outfit, which helped me out. And that's where I ate. By second year, I really had a good idea of how the city operated. You made your hay in the summertime, and hopefully you had enough to live through the wintertime. That's a tourist town, that's how it operates. I lived really cheap when I first got here, so I didn't have any work. I lived in trailers, I spent 2 months living in a campground, I lived in rooms, all kinds of things, until I found some kind of work of some kind to keep myself alive. My big break came, even though it didn't look like a big break at the time, was when somebody told me, I was homeless half the time too, and somebody told me about an abandoned, condemned house on the res. So I went there, and I walked into this house, and I squatted in a house on Indian badlands. I didn't know what was going to happen. I had no idea, none whatsoever. So after I was there for a couple of months, somebody knocked on the door and says, well, if you're going to stay here, you're going to have to pay a small amount of rent. Awesome, good for me. So I paid a token amount of rent, and hooked up some electricity, did some rudimentary plumbing on the place. It was a decent house. It was abused, beat up, that kind of thing. But I stayed there. And while I was there, I fixed it up a bit, a little more and more all the time, continually fixing it. So it had potential. I was there for 2.5 years, paying minimal amount of cost of living. And by this time, I'm working year-round. I saved an incredible amount of money by living cheap and staying there. And by the time I left, the house was no longer condemned. The house was no longer abandoned. Another family moved into the house, and they spent some money on renovations, and they're still living there. I saw the potential in that house when I went there. I developed that potential. I believe I'm going to do the same thing for the city of Penticton. I see a lot of potential here, and I will develop that potential. Well, slowly but surely, I had way too much money on my hands because I didn't have a cost of living, and I just kept working. And I had a bag full of money. I'm not making that up. I didn't have a bank account, so I kept putting it in a Ziploc plastic bag. And somebody, I was wondering what to do with all this money. And somebody says, well, hey, if you got too much money, you don't know what to do with it, open a restaurant, you'll be broke in no time. So I figured, hey, I'm going to open myself a cafe. By this time, I had a few workers working for me, I'd find young people with potential, I'd help them out, give them a driver's license, and the money to buy a car. And I had 3 really good staff. I couldn't hire them full-time. And I knew that they would abandon me as soon as they got full-time work. So I opened a cafe. Basically, so that I could keep my staff on. I gave them work in the cafe, and then they worked for the other jobs. It all worked out quite well. And I'm still operating the cafe. A number of my staff have moved on to full-time positions. They got apartments and houses and cars of their own. And I still have a few staff operating. And before I came to Penticton, I used to be an accountant to work in finance. I worked for the Department of National Defense, Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation. I've had my own bookkeeping business for 12 years. Thank you.
Thank you. That was Yuka Lorio. Just a note to the candidates, just I guess a forewarning. I know some people are nervous, but try and avoid touching the podium because sometimes the mics do pick it up. Okay, and for his opening address is our third and final candidate, alphabetically and also in our random draw. Please welcome Mr. John Vasilaki.
See again, they left the best for last. That's good. Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for coming out tonight. My name is John Vasilaki, and I want to be your mayor. Now is the time for experience and leadership to take on the city's challenges. I have both of these qualities. 150, oh man, I'm sorry. James, can I start over again? Something happened to my list here. It went backwards. Okay, I'll start again. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out tonight. My name is John Vasilaki, and I want to be your mayor. Now is the time for experience and leadership to take on the city's challenges. I have both of these qualities. I stand for mayor on my own record of 12 years of service to this community. This election should be decided on the ability to govern City Hall and guide City Council. We need a mayor with vast business experience and knowledge who has many successful accomplishments in purchasing and developing large holdings and who has employed as many as 150 Pentictonites at any one time for many decades. Very few people have managed anywhere near the size of budgets that I have in private life. How to make city budgets productive will be my goal for the next 4 years. I will be leading by example. I'm one of the largest fiscal conservatives on City Council, as can be seen by my 12-year record. I have always treated taxpayers' money as if it were my own, and I will continue to do so. Nobody's as proud of this community as I am. And for that reason, I call myself a passionate Pentictonite. I would like to see Penticton reclaim those glory days when the whole valley admired us for what we had accomplished. We are Penticton. People want to come here, to stay here, raise their families here in peace and quiet. Our economy has to grow, and as it grows, the revenues for the city and businesses will expand at the same time. We cannot live beyond our means, and that is where my knowledge of budgeting and spending will come into play. We must increase the budget for our economic development department for external marketing to recruit new businesses and industries who will create the highest paid jobs in our city. This will attract youth and young families that will be able to earn a decent living to support themselves. We also need trained personnel to fill those positions that will be created over time. We must take action on the homelessness. We need affordable housing and senior wellness availability. A new advisory committee will be formed to deal with these very serious social issues in our community. There is no doubt that Penticton is the jewel of the Okanagan, with its spectacular views and great beaches and award-winning wineries. We must rethink our vision as to how we are going to handle and improve tourism. We must create a single independent board to work on coordinated strategies and ideas. I will strive to increase city's accountability and transparency so that all information is made available to the public and not have to wait until after the fact. My intention to be transparent about spending, that all contracts are debated in public, the exception being the 3 L's, legal, land, and labor, as legislated by the province. There will be no backroom deals on my watch.
That's it. Thank you, John. And if the chamber wants to bring the question box up, Kyle's just going to hook the microphone up. And so again, you may ask the question of the panel to an individual candidate. If it is asked to an individual candidate, the other two, if they wish, may contact, or I beg your pardon, may rebut. And the question must be asked within 60, you have 60 seconds to ask. Your question may not be a delegation. I want a question, not an opinion. And that's great. Jay Kimberly. Andre Martin. So if you want to go to the, Jake, if you want to come up first, and then Andre, you can wait back by Mr. Schneiderrath, and we'll get started. So Jake, you're up, and then Andre, you're on deck.
I'm sorry, Jake, did you say just the one candidate?
You may ask all three if you wish.
I will ask all three then, because this is an important issue. Recently, the town of OK Falls suggested they want to incorporate into the municipality. If they are successful in that objective over the next 4 years, they will obviously set boundaries for their community. The boundaries will go to Cleeton on the north end, they will go to the Heritage Hills on the north end, and they would probably go to Vassal Lake on the south end. Now that being said, would you, as a mayor, see the necessity to expand Penticton's boundaries to close in that area, taking in to the north end of Cleeton, Heritage Hills, Carmine, and also north to the Summerland boundary, which is Trout Creek?
Okay, thank you. And Yuka Lorio, you're up first.
Already. I've heard of this one already, and I thought it through, and it truly is a very good idea to expand Penticton and take in the other territory and area there. We have limited room for residential area in OK Falls. We've got the beautiful suburb of Penticton. We can use the Metropolitan Center here for commercial and arts and culture centers and that kind of stuff. And the OK Falls area would be just perfect for a residential community where we could have families and that kind of stuff stay, and they wouldn't need to have a large commercial center there, and we could be the service community for them.
Thank you, John.
Thank you. You know, it really is not to Penticton's responsibility to expand its borders or boundaries. I think the folks that live in those areas have to make that decision for themselves, along with the province. The cost involved for the infrastructure that has to be put into place, and a lot of other matters have to be recognized before we can expand or take over other territories. To me, is first of all the people that live there, and next is the citizens of Penticton. What is it that they want, and how much they do want to spend in order to take over these territories. It wouldn't be fully my decision, it would be city council's decision once they come on board, and we have to sit and discuss it very, very seriously. But I do believe it's the people that live in those areas that have to make that decision, and not the city of Penticton.
Thank you. Andrew?
I think if once those people in that area see the true costs of incorporating in terms of their costs, John touched on the cost of infrastructure, their taxes are a lot lower to come in to be part of the city of Penticton and all the services that we provide. I'm not sure it's cost prohibitive. I would think Carmine, maybe West Bench is if we were ever to expand, that's probably where we should be looking at first. It makes sense. They're closer to our community, but their costs are prohibitive. So it's not really something I'd be pushing for to look at trying to do, is expanding our boundaries at this point in time.
Thank you. And thank you, Jake, for the question. And also thank you, Jake, for your many years of service in this community as a mayor and councilor. I thought you were going to run this year, Jake, so we have an extra podium set up.
Very close.
While Andre comes to the mic, on deck at the back of the room, we want Marnie Burge, 7563, into the room, and Andre Martin, a question in 60 seconds.
Gentlemen, thank you for putting your names forward. It's greatly appreciated. For the two gentlemen on my left, John has raised the issue about deputy mayor and also the top four council candidates getting appointed to the RDOS. I'd just like to know your thoughts on that.
Okay, and we'll start with John this time.
I do believe that we do need a deputy mayor that will take on more responsibility than what's happening at the present time, and it'll also create a great continuity within City Hall. In other words, a deputy mayor would be following the mayor to many of the meetings that he attends with, whether it's a developer or whether it's with staff. So they'll be informed as to what exactly is happening at all times. So when the mayor goes away, the deputy mayor steps in his place, and he or she will be aware of what's happening in the city, rather than having to guess what the mayor was thinking, or she won't bother even attending any of those meetings that she can or he can't make decisions on, because he's not aware of what's been happening. And as for the RDOS, I believe that it shouldn't be a political decision on the mayor's part. I think it should be on the ability of the person that's sitting on city council and how well they do in this election. Because if the people put them way up there on the list, and they come in first, second, third, or whatever, those are the folks that the majority of the citizens of Penticton want to govern them and to make decisions on their behalf.
Thanks, John. Andrew?
So with respect to deputy mayor, I'm not necessarily for that, because really what John didn't elaborate on is if you're going to increase responsibilities to a deputy mayor, then all of a sudden there's going to be extra cost to that. We do share that. We do share a rotation. Everyone becomes a deputy mayor twice a year for a month. My plan is more to empower council. I wanted to increase that flow of communication. It was another reason of meeting every week instead of twice a month, to have council get plugged in on what's happening, who's kicking the tires on wanting to do this or do that, get some insight on who came to meet the mayor, who's meeting with staff, that kind of type of thing. So I think, and with today's technology, there's no reason why a mayor cannot be accessible to the media wherever he or she goes. So the deputy mayor idea, I think we want each councillor to have an opportunity to speak on behalf of the city and step in that place, but to have that extra responsibility, well then there should be extra money. That's not fiduciary to be responsible. In terms of RDOS, I don't think it has to be the top votes. And to John's other comment, I'll rebut that when I have a chance. But it's chosen usually by council who's going to be the best to represent council. Thank you.
So the deputy mayor, the system that's in place, it works just fine. I agree with John about that could be on that one. But as for having a permanent deputy mayor, I don't think Penticton is actually large enough of a metropolitan center that the mayor himself can't keep track of what's going on. Good assistant and some, modern technology keeping track of emails and that kind of stuff. So having a full-time permanent deputy mayor, it may add some continuity, but I don't really see that we're large enough to actually warrant that kind of cost and expense. When the mayor can probably do it himself with a part-time assistant or something to that effect. And as for the appointments to the RDOS, somebody's got to do it. We've got to figure out a way to do it. If this is the way we decided to do it now, if it works, let's stick with it.
Okay, and Andrew wanted to rebut something. Go ahead.
No, my question now. Thank you. Just on John's last comment about parties' points not being political, and I just wanted to rebut the comment of that with respect to my opinion why John was taken off the RDOS is because he spoke passionately for and voted for management there to get a raise. And if we pay 43% of that. And so of course, that was one issue. The second issue was it came back to our staff, because they all said, well, wait a second, they just got a raise, we should get a raise. And it put us in a predicament where it wasn't good for morale, because we had to go turn them in. We said, no, we can't afford a raise right now. So I think we need to be fiduciarily responsible, and that was one example where we didn't work together as a team on that respect. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Andrew. Okay, come on up, and while we have our next speaker, Jerry Gilligan, can go and be on deck.
I would like to ask all three candidates this question, and it's a two-part question. Approximately how many people do you think are currently experiencing homelessness, as in living outside, in the city of Penticton, and is there something specific that you plan on doing to change the situation?
Thank you, good question. Andrew, you're going first.
I don't know what the number is. 50. I don't know. You see some, a lot of them are they're quietly in the shadows, but they're not in front of you all the time. What are you going to do about it? I think one of the things I want to do is create a mayor's task force that deals with affordable housing. So some of that homelessness creation situation is going to be dealt with there. It's something that we talk about, but we haven't really actioned. And that was the whole reason of having a mayor's task force, where you have these subject matter experts, where it's kind of like those downtown charrettes where you had 6 to 8 hours in a room, a bunch of people talking about what solutions worked elsewhere, what solutions could work here, and we formulate something instead of meeting once a month and we're coming into a council meeting and realize that we need more than half an hour to be slotted in for this, for us to really create. And that's the impetus of having these mayor's task force, and that's what I hope to actually move forward on addressing for our community.
Yuka?
See the number. I know about 100 and something people go to the soup kitchen every day, so I'm figuring about 80 of them would probably be homeless, or even around that range. There's two kinds of homeless people out there. There's the homeless people that are regular jobs, that kind of stuff. They've fallen into hard times, and suddenly they can't pay their rent. They just need some part-time assistance, or they need someplace they can go to or rent that's actually affordable for them. We do have a secondary suite law in Penticton that people could put secondary suites into their homes and get permits for them and have them as legal suites. If that was more enthusiastically pursued, and people had a holistic bent to actually rent these things out as a mortgage helper, and allow some of these people that are just down on their luck and actually, for a little bit of assistance, they can have themselves a nice affordable home, then that would be one solution. The other thing is to incorporate them into new construction and ensure that low-cost housing or affordable housing is part of any large-scale operation. And then there are those that are a little bit disadvantaged and they really can't function with the way all of us do. For them, shelter-style things would be more available, or some kind of community center outreach program where they provide them with a bed, all the other kind of assistance that they would need to be able to function throughout.
Thank you. John?
Thank you, that's an excellent question on those issues that we have in this community, not only here but all over the Okanagan. I believe that the city has buildings that are used very rarely or not as often, that are not practical for city use, but we could build something in those areas for homeless people. And as far as that goes for people that are need affordable housing, the city has many acres of land that we are not using, that we should be donating, and we always do donate land for $1 and get either a nonprofit organization or a partner along with the province to build units, real affordable units, because affordable units mean different things for different people. So you have to really build affordable housing for those people that can't afford, especially young families who are first-time buyers. That's where affordable housing comes into play. And I think we should take action on it immediately in order to help them out. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Sherry Gilligan is next, and on deck we will have Ryan Foster. Mr. Gilligan?
Good evening. My question is, on a per capita basis, Penticton is outspending all other communities in the valley, including Kelowna and Vernon. Council recently approved a 5-year financial plan forecasting $90 million on capital projects. That works to an average of $18 million per year. 3 projects that can only be described as unnecessary window dressing are in the works: downtown revitalization, a plaza at the Peach, and dolling up the area around the Sycamus. If elected, will you move to put a lid on these projects and work towards scaling down our capital and operating expenses?
Thank you, Mr. Gilligan. Yuka.
Well, capital expenditure is a necessary part of any city. And if these capital expenditures can be made with the idea of actually of some method of producing future revenue, then they should be done. If there's no actual trade-off gain benefit from those kind of capital expenditures, we're just doing it to make ourselves feel good, then it's really kind of a waste of money. They would all be analyzed as part of an overall plan to achieve an overall goal to increase the revenue of the city or to increase the visitors to the city or the tourism in the city. So if they serve that purpose, then they should be done. If we can't prove that they serve that purpose, then we should just bail on them and come up with better ideas. Downtown revitalization program, I support that all the same. I don't know how much we're going to spend on it or if it's even a completed package, but that is the kind of thing that should be supported and the kind of thing we should spend money on because that is the kind of thing that will make our city more attractive.
Thank you. John.
Thank you. Good question. I have a reservation as to what's going to be happening on the 1 and 200 block. I believe that perhaps we should have just worked on the park. That was my original view on that project, instead of doing the 200 block as well. And the reason I'm saying that is because 2 or 3 buildings in that 200 block is going to decide whether that project is going to succeed or fail. And that's those banks. And we should allow the smaller business person or a building holder in that area to make those decisions, because they're going to be the ones that are going to be paying the taxes, and they're the ones that might not be able to afford to pay those taxes. Where the banks, you can load them all you want, and they'll never say no to anything, and their vote is always yes, because they don't vote. As far as the Sycamoose is concerned, I believe we should do something for our tourist attraction area over there, because that's one of our main tourist attractions to Penticton. We got to make it very, very visible for people to come. Maybe they'll stay longer than what they were planning to do when there's something decent in place. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Andrew.
Thanks for the question. When looking at our high debt, don't forget, and we sometimes forget, we have other sources of revenues that don't factor into that equation of, we have the casino is almost $2 million a year that we have extra. We have our own electrical utility that has a huge dividend for our community. Our SVC has been paid off in 2018 in 3 years. So in terms of some of the capital improvements for downtown revitalization, we have infrastructure that's 50 to 60 years old that needs to get replaced. There's a gas tax grant to help offset those costs. If you look at the success of our Lakeshore Walkway, to do something more on the waterfront, it's something we should be considering. Maybe not both, either the Peach Plaza or the Sycamoose, one or the other. And it's tough because no one wants to invest in a dying town. So they come downtown along our waterfront, which is linked together, to sort of see, is this town has some vibrancy? Is this something worthwhile taking a risk to invest, to develop, to bring my business here, to move my family here? So we have to weigh those out, and we have to keep in mind that we do, yes, maybe our debt ratio is higher, but our revenue that comes in to offset or to be able to afford or pay those debts is higher than most communities.
Okay, candidates, I prefer we not continually rebut, but it's sure show not mine, because I know there's a lot of issues to talk about. But go ahead, John, and then Andrew wants to rebut what you said. So go ahead, John.
I'd like to rebut on what Andrew just finished saying. Yes, it's true, we're getting casino funds, we're getting gas funds, we're getting a whole bunch of other funds from the provincial government. But those funds can be better used for infrastructure in the downtown core, to bring more people in the downtown core to spend their money, live there, and get rid of all the crime that we have down there, because there's no people in the downtown core. If you notice, we roll up the carpet downtown at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and there's nobody there, because we need to create vibrancy in the downtown core, and the only way to do that is to bring people to live in the downtown core, so that our downtown can really grow and prosper, not the way it's heading down. You can spend $25 million on Main Street, that's not necessarily going to improve the business quality or the business value in the downtown core. You've got to have people in order to create all that. And without the proper infrastructure in
that's
the
it.
downtown core, can't happen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Andrew.
Thank you. Just to John's point, first he was against downtown revitalization at our last council meeting. He actually went to staff. Wow, rarely do I get wild with staff. Tonight I'm wild. Forget about the ball. Have everyone come downtown. We have to have people downtown. And now he's got concern. And if we would have read an email that came out to everyone on council today, we would have clarified that out of the 34 businesses that get to vote on downtown revitalization, 5 of them are banks. The other 29 are individual property owners. Thank you.
All right, Ryan is up, and while he is asking his question on Doug Pichette. Go ahead, Ryan.
Okay, John Vasilaki, and this is for all of you, but you mentioned that there's many acres available for affordable housing perhaps, or projects like that. I'm wondering if you as mayor or any of you would support public edible garden spaces on city land run by community members as a means of addressing drastically rising food costs and the cost of living in general, also as an integral component of the revitalization project, which takes more into account than aesthetics and also considers quality of life issues overall. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good question. So the question is for John to start? Or
Any of you.
anyway, okay, I'm sorry, where did we leave it?
I'll take it. Absolutely, I'll do that. I was the only one on city council that voted against closing down that garden thing that we had at the corner of Alice. I was the only one that voted against closing down. So, and I come from an agricultural background. My family worked on agriculture back home, so I know what this is all about. We do have many, many acres. We have a lot of land up on those properties, those agricultural lands that we purchased for ballparks. There's still 10 acres left that's in the hands of the city. They can be turned back into agricultural land where people can actually grow food and feed themselves. It'll need some work. There's a few houses on those properties as well, but I do believe that if city was really, really serious and they wanted to look into this matters, that we have lots of land that we can donate for folks to grow their own food.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan, for the question. Well, first of all, that community garden on Ellis Street wasn't closed by the city. We did offer, we didn't want to give them a 5-year lease. We wanted to transition to another spot that was a little more closer to neighborhoods. So I just wanted to clarify that. But yes, actually 2 weeks ago we were at an opening, yourself as well, for the incredible edible gardens out by the village by the station, by Hastings there. And that to me was an excellent example because you have a housing development there, you have a dense neighborhood there, very easy for people to access that, do a little gardening, see the benefits from that, have them come with their kids and their families. So if we're going to have community gardens, they need to be put in the community, so you don't have to go drive there. So it's convenient for you to go there and harvest the food and work on that and teach children the value of growing your own food and all that whole where your food source comes from. Thanks.
Yuka.
Any land that we have that's not being used for anything, if it's arable, doesn't have a specific purpose, or it's not going to be used for anything, you might as well allow the people to grow something on it. It doesn't really matter where it is, they'll find their way to it. People like to grow things. They're in major centers, they drive a long distance to get there to the community garden. I had 3 gardens in the city at one time, and I didn't live at any of the places that had a garden. I borrowed people's yards to put gardens in. I grew vegetables and gave them away to the neighbors, just so I could grow them. There was no purpose to feed myself. And if the land is available, it's not being used for anything else, there's absolutely no reason why you can't allow the people that actually own the land to go in there and grow some fruits and vegetables. But it should be done like organized in little groups. So there's an actual little club that says this is our little place, and they organize themselves together so they don't duplicate things and there's somebody running the show. But overall, if it's a land's available and it's not being used for anything else, grow food.
Is everybody satisfied, candidates? Okay, great. Dr. Bichette is coming up with Michelle. Michelle will help them out. And while we get that, Dorothy Point, go to the back of the room, please. You're on deck.
Thank you, James. As you can see, I have a mobility problem. And if you look around this room, how many seniors do you see in this room? Hopefully, none of these will require mobility equipment. Unfortunately, 30% of this population needs some sort of mobility equipment. And the sidewalks and the accessibility in this city are absolutely ridiculous. Can you tell us how you're going to replace this 60-year-old infrastructure of sidewalks and ramps to make it so that we handicapped people can get around? Thank you.
Thank you. Andrew?
Thanks for the question, Doug. Well, I'll start with the downtown revitalization. The blocks that got started on Martin Street, we fixed those let-downs and the big lips. Now they're smooth. As we move forward on that, that's going to get addressed, and we should be looking at, and actually similar walkways in the downtown and to the waterfront. I think probably should be our priorities because that's where a lot of us come together as a community. 7, 8 years ago, Dr. Al Markin actually did a report on accessibility in our community. Very few things were actioned out of that, and I think that's something we need to revisit and look at what was suggested, what was implemented, and what should we start moving forward. And actually, you're right, putting more of a focus, because a lot of these fixes are big fixes where we try to grind it down and as a in-between before we can actually do a replacement of sidewalk infrastructure. And the last thing about mobility, we just finished our trial of the short bus, the vicinity bus, and a lot of concerns were raised about accessibility for walkers and strollers. And from my point of view, I would like to see us go back to the bigger buses, just because a lot of our population has mobility issues where these smaller buses can't really accommodate them. Thank you.
You go.
A lot of friends of mine have mobility issues, a lot of good friends of mine. As we redo parts of the city, and they're remade, restructured, remade the sidewalks, and at that point in time, they should be designed for accessibility. So I know friends of mine, they have a hard time, they get stuck on curbs, you gotta pick them up, they got their electric carts. If you ever run out of juice while they're downtown, you have to push them around. Even if we had some kind of accessible location where they go to maybe recharge their chair so they can get back home again, and not have to phone a cab and abandon their chair. But the accessibility, like we can't just all of a sudden spend a whole bunch of money to make it perfect all at one time. But as we slowly do it and put in new projects, that kind of stuff, we will make it more accessible. If there's emergencies or some kind of things that are really drastically need to be done because they have to get to some place that's not accessible, those should be done right away. But it's a slow progress kind of thing, and we need input from the people that do have mobility difficulties to tell us what parts of the city they would actually like to have done. And even if we set up a little board or an advisory thing where they can take in comments to find out where exactly we should focus our energies. But it's a long-term kind of process, and it's done slowly but surely.
John?
Thank you very much. Very, very good question, and we've discussed it in length together in the past. I agree with Andrew that Dr. Markham did put that report out, and we did a little bit of work on that report. But if you notice, in the downtown core, where they put the down lifts on the intersections, that those down lifts actually enter into the traffic and not on the crosswalk. Very, very dangerous for those on walkers or those on their, like the one that you happen to be in at the present time. So we've got to get our engineers working on those sites very, very carefully and redo the work that they've already done that was done in error. It's just not safe enough for those that need that area to be done properly to negotiate those areas. And the other big problem that we have in the community is not enough crosswalks. That's the other problem that we have. I'll take South Main Street, for example. There's a 1.5 kilometer, the other day I said miles, but it's kilometers, 1.5 kilometers from the Main Street, South Main Market, all the way down to the other end where the park is. There isn't one crosswalk in that area. And there are a lot of close calls with people trying to cross, because it's almost like a highway over there right now.
Thank you. Good question. Thanks, Doug. Thank you. Okay, come on up. Do we have our next speaker to show? Okay, then Marnie, do you want to come up? Marnie? Is there a Marnie? 7563? Okay, one ticket per customer, please. Okay, but thank you. Hilma LaBelle, do you have a topic that hasn't been addressed yet? Okay, and then on deck. And then on deck is Tariq Saeed.
Hi there. From 2008 to 2011, I sat on the city's Community Development Committee, and we identified then that Penticton didn't really have a holistic vision in terms of how to get things done. There were many silos, there were many people doing things off the side of their desk, and we put forth at that time, and we actually brought speakers in from Whistler, who presented for a full day on a holistic vision comparable to Whistler's, which was known as Whistler 2020. Our committee put forth to City Council the notion of Penticton 2020, and that fell off the table. I'd like to know, if you're elected as mayor, would you consider revisiting this idea, this vision of having a holistic vision that addresses all of the issues through task forces that address the key affordable housing issues, the infrastructure issues, water, agriculture? Would you support that motion?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. And Yuka, I think you're up first this time.
Part of my whole idea of running for mayor is to get a grand vision for the city, like a long-term plan, like where do we want to be 20 years from now? Not just sort of living hand to mouth, figuring out what we're going to do 3 years from now. If we get a plan together, we need the entire community to participate in this plan. It'd be something that everybody would want to do. We have a common goal to be going towards. So if we can set up the vision and have a plan and decide on what it is we want Penticton to be, what the goals for Penticton are, and if we can get the city and the people on board with this goal, we can have a plan for 20 years down the road for where we want to be and what we want to be. But it requires an overall sort of goal, and it requires the cooperation of everybody, and it requires the people on council to decide that they're all going to go for the same direction. We can't keep all putting our little projects here and there. We've got to sort of unify and decide everything's part of some large project. And that way we can actually do something with this city. But it's a hodgepodge of things now. Everybody's doing a little bit here, over here, they change over there, this is a project over here, and very little of it is cohesive in any fashion whatsoever. And we need that cohesion, we need consistency, and we need to have a basic goal, general goal.
John.
Thank you. Absolutely, I'd be willing to look at it again. I was on that committee in 2008 to 2011 when that gentleman came down and gave us that report. Actually, there was a couple of them that came down on 2 different occasions. And the problem was that the talk and the information that gave us worked for Whistler, but not necessarily would work for Penticton. We've got 2 different communities with different way of thinking and a lot of other stuff. It doesn't mean that what he was saying wasn't correct, because it was. I mean, those kind of things do have to happen. But we've got to have the right people on city council, the right people on staff to really energize things to happen. Instead of city council saying, okay, our priorities for this 3 years are going to be the waterfront, it's going to be Main Street, and it's going to be along the sycamores. That's what city council came up as their priorities for the following 3 years. And that's what's happening right now. So some of the practical things that we should be doing to help out the community just aren't being done, because the right direction is not given by city council and those in charge in order to put those in place. Thank you.
Thanks for the question, Homa. 6 years ago when I came to council, that first few years, we just chased whatever shiny object was out there, and that's where our focus went. And we actually went and developed what our strategic priorities were, and now staff reports all sort of linked to what our strategic priorities should be, which I think is correct. The first thing I would do when I become mayor would be, instead of doing our budgets in December, that's going to get pushed to January, February, because we're going to sit down as a council. First of all, it's going to be new faces, so there's going to be some orientation. Then we're going to figure out and try to figure out what our strategic priorities or emphasis for the community should be, and then start working our budget into that, how that can tie in and support those type of things. So yes, we do need to have a focus and a strategic plan and stick to that, and have our staff reports and our councils all sort of tie into that somehow, so we can actually move forward in that direction. And it might not happen holistically in the first year, because we want to also do some community engagement to say, this is what we think our priorities are. What do you think? Are we on task on this? Are we right? Should we tweak this or do that? So, but we need to have the strategic priorities, otherwise we're not focused.
Tariq Said.
This is a question for the environment, so it matters to all of us. There has been many times I went to the grocery store, but I forgot to get my recycled bag from the car, so I ended up buying those harmful plastic bags. How do you feel about an initiative to replace or reduce the number of plastic bags from our community? And when you answer this, please don't tell me, hey Tariq, this is a great idea, I'll work with you. Give me a straightforward answer, because this is a fight we have to fight with the bigger corporations to reduce the number of plastic bags for our community and make us a role model community for Canada.
John.
Thank you. Very good question. It'll help out our garbage dumps, if you want to put it in those terms. I'll be very, very happy when I become mayor to outlaw plastic bags, period, in this community and go to paper. Those plastic bags, once they go into the disposal area, they take 100 years to get rid of them in the ground, and they create a lot of gases and all the other stuff that comes along with it. You can also buy plastic bags that within 3 years they're decomposed, just like the paper bags. So as a city council, we have to get together and see how important is it on our priority list in order to put that in place. I will be one of the first to agree that we have to do something to get rid of all that stuff that goes into our landfills that will never go away. They'll be there for centuries to come. So we have to do something to get rid of all that stuff and get rid of all that leaching that's happening all over the place. Thank you.
Andrew.
Thanks, Tariq. That's a great question. I'd love to work with you on that.
Wrong answer.
But I won't go as far as to say outlaw plastic bags, because that is a huge shift in our culture, what we're used to. But I think what we need to do is be able to work with community and business groups to help fund, because recycled bags are more expensive than plastic bags. But if we could help fund, subsidize it, advertise on whatever it is to make those bags affordable, so the consumer is as cheap or cheaper than plastic bag, or the store owner automatically switches to recycled bags. I think that's the way to shift the culture. It's not something that's going to happen right away, but it has to start, and more and more people are aware of what John was saying. It's something you have to do, but it's pretty hard to shift that culture, and if we can make it affordable for people so it becomes second nature, it's not a big deal. They go to recycled bags and they're using them more often, more regularly. That would be a good thing.
Thank you. Mark, do you want to come up? Mark, do you want to come up? Oh, sorry. Is everyone answered? Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Recycling renewable resources in the environment is an important concern to me. I recycled before recycling was even popular, before even people thought about recycling or reusing materials and that kind of thing. It was an odd thing for me to do because people didn't do that back then. The change to get rid of plastic bags, that's a community kind of thing. You know, you can't pass a law saying there's a law against plastic bags, or you can't carry plastic bags, or that kind of stuff is sort of draconian. But a community effort to put into it, even if we just decided to tell the stores, give us the option, what paper bag or plastic bag. That's really not that hard. We used to have that option in stores, paper or plastic. If you give us that option back, we can go there, we can order a paper bag, which will decompose, we can put it anywhere we want to. But we don't have that option. That would be the simplest solution. That is up to the people in the community to decide how much they actually care about this plastic bag or not. They can request a brown paper bag. Recycling has been really difficult in the city. I'm trying to recycle. I don't know why it is such a difficult thing to do, and it's something we should actually focus on a lot more and make it so simple to recycle and so easy to get rid of recycling things that it's hard to not recycle.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off on that. I got caught sidetracked with an announcement. For those with transportation issues tonight, we do have free shuttle service. Last night people didn't know where to get it from, but does anybody need a ride tonight? Please raise your hand. Okay, Bridget, anybody else? Okay, if you're too shy, his name's Martin, he's a really good looking dude, he's wearing a black suit, he's at the back. And yeah, they all want to ride home. So if anybody does, at the conclusion of the meeting at 8:30, please see Martin, he will get you home safe and sound, courtesy of the Coconut Express. We are going to, thank you. We're going to take a 5-minute comfort break, exactly 5 minutes, and we'll be right back to do it to you one more time.